G'day and welcome to Kel's Gone Bush, the podcast where I'm bringing you the craziest stories, characters and places from down under. Today's story is a pretty hectic one. I first heard it in a pub I was working at in Darwin, and to be honest, I wasn't quite sure how much of it was actually true. Now, this is down to two reasons. First of all, they were on like their 10th schooner of the day. And the second reason was there wasn't a lot of media coverage on it at the time because it happened around the same time that Peter Falconio went missing from the side of the Stuart Highway and his partner, Joanne Leese, was held captive and escaped. So at the time, that was national and international news and the focus of everybody's attention. So it meant this one kind of fell under the radar, but I feel like it shouldn't have. For a start, it involves murder and crocodiles, which always grabs my attention. But in this story, for once, the crocs aren't the bad guys. And it all started from two teenage boys that met in high school. The two boys came from very different backgrounds. Ben Mclean was born and raised in the Northern Territory, whereas his best mate, who I'm going to call by his last name Trinh, as I'm bloody hopeless at pronunciations at the best of times, had been born in Vietnam before leaving the country when he was just 3 years old. Trinh then lived in Thailand, New Zealand and Brisbane before his family finally settled in a property in Maracay, where Trinh's family ran a small farm. It was here that Trinh met Mclean at their local high school in the town of Humpty Doo. These two boys quickly became best mates. Mclean, who has been described as baby-faced and somewhat naive, was definitely the follower of the pair. Trinh, however, was described as dominating, manipulative and a risk-taker. Despite their very different backgrounds and personalities, the pair were extremely close, with Ben eventually moving to Trinh's property where they both worked on Trinh's parents' farm. But as they got older, Trinh decided that life wasn't exciting enough. But instead of getting on the piss and shagging backpackers like normal 18-year-old blokes living in Darwin, he decided a bit of murder is what he needed in his life. So, on the last Sunday of February in 2004, Trinh called up a Darwin woman who worked as a sex worker and organised her and another woman to meet him the following night. The woman, who was of Thai descent and went by the nickname Ponsi, or Mum, to the younger women that she worked with, put in a call to a fellow freelance sex worker who didn't answer her phone, which was really lucky for that sex worker, but not so lucky for the next lady who was called. She was a 27-year-old protege of Ponsi, nicknamed Ngoc. Ngoc, who worked hard to provide for her son who was living with relatives in Thailand, was more than happy to join her in the job. So, while they were arranging their night, Trinh was arranging his by purchasing rope, cable ties and duct tape. The next day, Trinh drove his father's combi van into Darwin to Mclean Street, where he picked up the two sex workers and took them back to surprise his mate at the Maracay property, where he lived with his family, who I'm hoping weren't home at the time because that's a bit weird. Well, this whole fucking thing's a bit weird, to be honest, but let's start with that. Both of the teens had sex with the younger working girl. Trinh apparently also engaged in some sexual activity with the older woman, and after they were done, the two women then expected to be paid and taken back to Darwin. Instead, they were bound and gagged and forced into the back of Trinh's van. It was at this point that Trinh decided to enlighten his best mate of his cruel plot and what he was planning to do to these women. So, Mclean drove the van while Trinh sat in the back and forced Ponsi to give up her bank cards and security details, which she did in the hope that it actually might save her life. Unfortunately, it didn't. Although she put up a fight, Trinh strangled both women with the rope, then tried to attach car batteries to their legs with cable ties. But the batteries broke as they were trying to move the women. So instead, they decided to tie the rope around the batteries and attach them to the women's arms, and then drove to the Adelaide River bridge on that night, where they callously threw both of the women into the water. Now, if you don't know about the Adelaide River, let me tell you about the Adelaide River. It is one of the most populated rivers in Australia for crocodiles. In fact, they actually have two jumping croc tours, one on each side of the Adelaide River Bridge, and both of them have enough crocodiles for everyone. So, as I said, it was a miracle that they weren't attacked by crocodiles or eaten by crocodiles. But funnily enough, although crocodiles didn't play a part in any of this for once in their lives, a couple of days later, it was one of the jumping croc cruisers that played a part in the discovery of the women. unfortunately for the 19 tourists that happened to be on the boat that day. Later on, the NT News would report 19 sets of eyes watched on as the body of a gagged Thai woman wearing pink underwear floated past their boat shortly after 9 a.m, which is not a good start to the day for anybody, really. Police were quickly called but went to the wrong jumping croc tour on the other side of the river, where they found the older woman's body floating about 1 kilometre upstream. Meanwhile, Trinh had dropped off Mclean at the family property and headed into Darwin, where he gained access to Ponce's hotel room and her credit cards, withdrawing $1,800 before attempting to get rid of the rest of the evidence by burning some of the women's possessions they still had in the van in a fire pit. Again, they did an absolute shit job of getting rid of the evidence, as police would later find a few buttons and part of a shoe in the ash. It didn't take long for the police to tie Trinh and Mclean to this murder. And the boys, after being questioned once by local police at the family property in Maracay, quickly took off to Brisbane, where they were found a little while later while hiding in a wardrobe. They were taken straight back to the Northern Territory to be charged with murder. It was there, in an interview with police, Trinh told them that he strangled the woman with his bare hands, but then later admitted to using the rope. The police then asked if the older woman cooperated by giving her bank cards and security details because she thought he would let her go. And he said that no, I think she knew from the start. Police said that you were going to kill her, and Trinh answered, I was about to kill her as well as drop them both at the same time. Are you kidding me? So these poor women knew what was going to happen to them. I'm telling you right now, if anyone drove me to any bridge in the Northern Territory and threatened to throw me off it, I think I would die of a heart attack before they even got the chance to pick me up. So just let that sink in, how terrifying it would have been for them. The official cause of death was drowning, so they weren't actually dead when they were thrown over. No matter what Trinh says about strangling them, he obviously never finished the job properly, as is a common fucking theme with this entire story. And look, I don't really want to be murdered, but my preference would be just to be taken out before being thrown off a bridge into a river with the world's largest crocodiles. I mean, the entire time I lived in the Northern Territory, that was literally my biggest fear. I don't know why. I've never done anything to anyone that would warrant throwing me off a bridge into crocodile-infested water. But, you know, getting back to the story, neither did these women. They were just out there doing their job, and Trinh decided to be a fucking idiot, and there is no motive. Except Trinh is obviously a very cruel and evil person. I think that he just really wanted to see what it felt like to kill somebody. And all he could tell police was, in his words, something really irritated me. Can't remember it, just ticked me off really bad. Something just went wrong or something. Can't explain it. Can't control yourself. Someone says something, you just, because you're off your head, probably, he said. It's full on. It's just one of those things. No, Trinh, it's not just one of those things. You stupid fucking idiot. Anyway, meanwhile, Mclean originally admitted to being there and admitted to taking part and gave a confession to police in Brisbane when he was arrested. But the pair soon quickly changed their stories and they didn't seem to match up, with Mclean choosing what he probably thought was the lesser of two evils. I don't know why he chose to do this, it just proves how stupid they really were. Because Mclean tried to claim they killed the women as a repayment to outlaw bikie gang the Hells Angels for a speed debt they owed them. And that's just pissing off a group of people you really don't want to piss off. But Mclean at this point probably wasn't thinking about the consequences of his actions. Actually, I don't think either of them were thinking about the consequences of their actions in this entire situation. Anyway, he soon admitted the story was a pack of lies. He said that Trinh had told him to use the Hells Angels story when they met up with friends after they fled from the NT to Brisbane, which he repeated to the police in panic. He said, I made it up. I don't know particularly why I made it up. I'd probably say it was because Trinh told him to, although Trinh came out with a completely different story. He claimed that he had contacted Ponce in the months before the murder because he wanted someone to supply him with ecstasy and was surprised to find out that she was a sex worker, which I call bullshit. I think he just picked a name out of the phone book that Sunday afternoon, and unfortunately for her, she was the unlucky one that got that job. He implicated 3 other men in the killing, which he claimed to have been members of an Asian triad gang called the Vietnamese People Community that he knew from previously living in Brisbane. Again, I'm just baffled at the stupidity of these two. It's like, first they blame the Hells Angels, that's bad enough, and then they blame some Asian triad gang, which is just like, seriously, let's just piss off the most hectic gangs we can think of. Anyway, Trinh went on to say that 6 gang members headed by a Mr. Lee, gee, that's fucking original, isn't it? Who just suddenly appeared at his house with the women. And it was the unidentified men who strangled and dumped them into the river. And he just watched it happen. According to him, Ponce was killed by a man named Joe, but later said that he'd seen her choked by a man named Easy. He said, I tried to do as much as I could to stop the murders, but I couldn't because he had a gun. He said that he was scared that he would also lose his life, so he burnt crucial evidence and then claimed that he left evidence around the house for police to find in case the gang came after him and killed him as well. When asked why the Asian gang wanted to kill Ponce, Trinh couldn't really get his story straight. One of the versions was that Ponce owed money for ecstasy to the gang, and the other version was it was because she was a police informant. One of the defense lawyers, Colin McDonald, was quoted as saying the mechanism of death does fit more comfortably with this ruthless behaviour of a Vietnamese Asian gang than these 2 teenagers. The mechanism of death itself was a cold one. It was calculating, it was utterly without mercy, and he said it was simply an unspeakable evil act committed by Trinh and Mclean. He then described the pair as mischievous, which I don't think I'd use that particular word, but anyway, at least he wasn't really sticking up for them at any point in this whole bullshit scenario. By this stage, McCain had given up the whole it was the Hells Angels, maybe it was a triad situation, and tried to say he wasn't even there in the first place, which it's a little bit too late for that defense, buddy. Despite the fact that he had several different stories, he tried to put in an appeal and obviously didn't win that one because it was just ridiculous. But he did try and get out of the whole crime situation in the end. Unfortunately, he'd already admitted to the crimes, made up a few stories, and at this point, the stories just weren't washing with the police or even his own defense. Not only that, but the evidence was pretty damning. There was no way that Trinh could have lifted those bodies when they were unconscious out of the van and thrown them in the water himself. It just wasn't possible. But most people can agree that although Mclean was definitely involved in the murder, it was all Trinh's idea, and he was just following along and doing what he was told. Now, I don't know if he was just scared of Trinh, because Trinh sounds pretty fucking scary. I think Trinh took him by surprise, and Mclean was just like, what is he going to do to me if this is what he's going to do to these 2 women? So I think he just thought it was safer if he went along with Trinh's plan. So I'm not excusing his behaviour at all. I think it's disgusting what happened to those women, and I couldn't think of anything worse than the final moments that those women went through, and I have no words. But I can understand that Mclean may have been that frightened he just went along with it because he didn't want to be thrown off the bridge. In the end, it was concluded in court that his involvement in the murder was boiled down to immaturity and loyalty. Despite this, Justice Mildren said that in the eyes of the law, they both did the crime. So they both do the time. They were handed mandatory life sentences with the minimum non-parole period of 25 years for double murder. As I mentioned before, they did try and appeal this sentence in 2006, but thankfully they weren't successful. I think that Mclean probably has a chance of rehabilitation, but I'm not quite sure about Trinh. I think it takes a special kind of evil to think that that's okay to do to 2 innocent women that you don't even know and they've never done anything to you. There was no motive apart from, I want to know what it feels like. Not only did this murder destroy the lives of both Mclean and Trinh's families, it also destroyed the lives of Ponce and Ngo's family. They were the ones that provided for a lot of their family members, both in Australia and Thailand. Ngo had a 7-year-old son that will never see his mother again. And for what? Just one night of a thrill kill? It just, yeah. And I think that's why I was like, why the fuck hasn't this story got more media attention? But you know, as I said, the Peter Falconio, Joanna Lease situation, that was pretty much all that was in the headlines for 12 months more. It's still in the headlines to this day. I did a podcast on it last year because they came out with a new documentary with supposed new evidence, and they're still looking for Falconio's body. If you do want to listen to that, it's called Murder in the Outback. It's a few episodes ago. Unfortunately, this crime kind of got swept under the wayside, and it wasn't until I was working in a pub that I actually heard about it. But I will link all of the articles I can find, plus the appeal documents, which I will link to this episode. And I think there was another podcast done on this, which I am going to listen to now that I've done my podcast. And I'm quite keen to see their take on it. And I will link that one in with this one as well. Unfortunately, I haven't found any docos on it. I've searched as much as I can. If somebody can find anything worth watching, please send it to me. I'm on Kel's Gone Bush Instagram, Facebook, and kelsgonebush@gmail.com if you want to email me. And let me know what you think of this episode and the story. That's pretty much it for me today, guys. And now that I'm finished, I will have a little bit of a chat to the people that want to keep listening. Where the fuck have I been? Well, it's been a crazy 3 months. I had to get a new laptop. Then I had to figure out how to fucking use it because I'm just hopeless at that shit. And yeah, just the whole school holiday situation with having my daughter home 24/7. It's a little bit hard to record. It's actually hard enough to record just when I'm here by myself, because usually my rescue galah is going fucking Burko every time he hears me talk. He thinks that's like we're having some kind of conversation because he can only hear my voice. I think I need to get him like a TV or something. He might be a bit lonely. I don't know. I'm not getting another galah though. That's just not happening. I don't need twice as much fucking hectic noise in my life. So, coming up in the next few weeks, there'll be more Australia's Dumbest Criminals. We'll have some crocodile attacks, survival stories, and I have a couple of interviews lined up with some very interesting people. So if you don't already, follow me on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, Kel's Gone Bush, although Twitter I'm pretty hopeless at. And you can keep up to date with all of the latest episodes coming out and any of the goss. And if you want to just have a chat, I'm always up for one. So that's it from me. Until next week, have an awesome one. And I'll be back soon with some more crazy shit from down under.